Okay, so my plan for today is to talk a little bit about how we can convert tables to graphs and the purpose behind converting them from a table of a whole bunch of numbers to a graph is that it's easier to analyze and interpret the data. Okay. And so what we're going to do is talk a little bit about, and we'll go through a couple of examples, and then we're going to go through kind of some Excel basics as a class. So if you don't have a computer at that point, we can come up and get a laptop from here. Um, and then your assignment for next week is really to complete the Excel assignment. Okay. Um, if you will wait until at least tomorrow to open that Excel assignment, I think I have to redo it a little bit because I feel like the last time I did this was 2022. And I think in the last 3 years, some things have changed with Excel. And so I want to make sure my step-by-step guide is accurate for you. So I'll try to get that updated today. And then that way you'll have that to work on. And that will be your assignment that is you're going to be working on next week while I am out of town. Okay, so we do not have class on Tuesday or Thursday next week. Okay, but that does not mean we have no class and there's nothing for you to do. It just means that there's an independent study. There's something for you to do outside of class. Okay, so it's not a week off. It's just there's something for you to do independently. All right. So, what does it mean? A picture is worth 1,000 words. What is? How many of you have heard that saying before? Okay. So, Chad, what do you think? Why? What does that mean? A picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay. Yeah. So if I were to have to use words to describe a picture, right? If I had to write the words to describe a picture, I'd probably have to spend a lot of words describing it so that the way the person would have a complete understanding what the whole picture looks like, right? Whereas if I just show you the picture, then it's easier for you to interpret maybe the emotions of the individuals in the picture, or maybe it's a scenery. And there's different ways to describe that. And so that way you can just kind of see that. So it kind of saves you from having to use all those words to describe it. Okay. Um, and so I use that phrase because oftentimes when we are presenting data, okay, when we are presenting data, usually in our realm, in the management world, in the hospitality world, we're doing some kind of um, information about data about maybe our food cost percentage from month to month. Maybe it's our revenue or our sales from month to month. Or maybe we're looking at the number of guest complaints we've had over time, right? And so that graph is going to tell us a better picture versus just looking at the numbers on a chart. Okay, so let's do a couple of exercises real quick. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at these numbers here. So which hotel exceeded the average in all three metrics? Who can tell me? Hotel C. Yes, Hotel C is one of them. G as well. Okay. So what did you have to do to identify which hotel exceeded the metrics? You had to go line by line, right? Well, first we'd look at the very bottom and what are those averages? And then we had to compare each line with those averages, right? So you look at the ADR, average daily rate. And then you have to remember, okay, which hotels exceeded the average daily rate? Okay, now let's go to RevPAR and let's figure that out. Which hotels are similar? However, if we look at a graph here, The green line is our average occupancy. So the lines represent the averages. Okay. The lines represent the averages. And then the bars represent the values of each hotel. So hotel A's ADR, RevPAR, and occupancy. And so now, which hotels exceeded the average in all three categories? Hotel B, Hotel C, and Hotel G, right? So we can see the averages is the line. So the average ADR is yellow. So we look any lines that are blue above the yellow line, that means they exceeded it. And then the blue line is our RevPAR. Okay, so even if you have no idea what these words mean, ADR, RevPAR, occupancy percentage, you can interpret the data based on the question that's asked. So which one has exceeded all three metrics? Okay, which hotel is the best performing hotel? Okay, why do you say C? Yep. So of the three hotels, B, C, and D, or sorry, B, C, and G, Hotel C exceeded the averages the most. Okay. Which hotel performed the worst? Okay. Why do you say Hotel D? Yeah. So everything is either at the average for ADR or it's below. So even though Hotel A is below the average for ADR and RevPAR, it's still above the average for occupancy. Okay. Um, so which one's easier to answer the question? The chart, the table, or the chart? Chart's a little bit easier. Okay. So which units performed above the average profit? Which ones performed above the average profit? So F and G did as well. Okay. And Hotel A. So now let's take a look at our graph. Which one's easier to interpret? That line is the average. So which ones are above the average? Hotel A is just barely. Hotel F and Hotel G. Okay. So this is why we want to put data from tables into a graph because it allows us to more quickly analyze and interpret the data. Okay. Which hotel is, which hotel do you think is performing the worst? Or let me say that again. Let me rephrase that. Which unit do you think has the most potential for improvement? Okay, so I see D. I hear D. Why D? Okay. Anybody else have a thought? Why E? They have the highest revenue, but they also have the highest expenses, right? If we can get their expenses under control, look at everybody else's expenses. They're around that under 60,000 mark, right? So even though they have lower revenue coming in, they also are keeping their expenses under control. Whereas Hotel E has the highest revenue, but yet their expenses are also relatively high. and so high that it affects their profit. Their profit is below the average profit. So we might look at there and say, okay, now granted, yes, I understand you need to be able to spend more money because you have more sales coming in, right? We've talked about that in cost control class. We have more guests, we have to buy more food, so our expenses are going to go up. Okay. What's a better metric that we might be able to look at to compare each one of these performances by each unit? What's a better metric? We talk about it in cost control. It should average between 30 to 33%. Our food cost percentage, right? That would probably be a better metric than just sales and revenue, or sales, expenses, and profit, right? Because then we can see which units exceed that food cost percentage of 33%. Okay. So although we could get some data, some information from this, actually we'll use this as an example to look at our food cost percentage. Okay. Any other questions or comments or thoughts about this particular slide? All right. So which item experienced an increase month over month? An increase in sales month over month. So first of all, what does month over month mean? Bless you. Anybody, and does anybody not know what month over month means? Okay, so what does month over month mean? Zach. Okay, someone help him out. Yeah, so I'm going from month to month to month to month. So month over month, basically comparing the previous month, the next month to the previous month. Okay. We also will hear this when we talk about year over year. Okay. So year over year, what did we do from one year to the next? What's the progression? Okay. So month over month, which one experienced an increase? Not chocolate chip cookies because they decreased from February to March. Chocolate cake. I heard it over here too. Just be a little bit more confident. Okay. Oh, she said chocolate cake. Okay, cool. I said it over here. Okay. Yeah. So now let's take a look at this. This is a different type of graph. So which item experienced a continuous increase month over month? The yellow line. And so we look down at the bottom, and what is the yellow line? Chocolate cake. Right? So this is called a line graph. And a line graph is really helpful to show trends in the data. Okay. So if you're looking at the year, or maybe you're looking for like every month of the year over the last couple of years, you can see that trend in the data. This is only 3 months, so the data really kind of is abbreviated. But if we showed for like the whole year, we might be able to have a better idea of how the data goes. Okay. So which item showed the sharpest decrease? The most drastic decrease was cheesecake. It's the green line. Look how deep, look how steep that green line is. Okay. There are lines that are decreasing, right? So chocolate chip cookies are decreasing from February to March. It looks like the snickerdoodles continuously are decreasing. Okay. Why do you think it's important to be able to analyze and see this type of data? What kind of decisions might you make based on the data that's on the screen? What's popular, not popular? What's that? How much you should make, right? So looking at now we're getting into April. okay, my chocolate cake keeps going up. So maybe in April, I need to make sure and plan for a little bit more. Okay. What else? There's something over here. Yeah, modify the menu. Okay, so for whatever reason, why did cheesecake drop off in March? Okay, and then you start thinking about why did that drop off in March? Okay, maybe you might look at if you are, let's say you are, that's what I'm looking for. Let's say you're a restaurant and you're serving your menu, and you notice that fish and seafood perks up and is sold more in the month of March and April. Why might that be? Because of Lent. People aren't eating hamburgers as much, they're not eating red meat as much, they're eating more seafood, right? And so you can see that trend in that data if you look over time. And so line graphs are really good for showing the trends in data. Okay. What if we wanted to look month by month? So which item sold the best in January? Cheesecake. If we look at it in a pie graph, which one sold in January? Right? Which one has the biggest piece of the pie? So rather than having to go down the list to see which one actually sold the most, we can just look at a picture. Which one sold the least in March? Okay, so we go down the list in March and figure out which one has the least. But now if we just open it up as a picture, as a pie chart, I know those percentages are kind of hard to see, but we would have 8% and 8%, the smallest pieces of the pie. So that's strawberry shortcake and snickerdoodle. So maybe in March next year, when I start doing my menu, maybe I'm not going to offer strawberry shortcakes. Maybe I think about the labor. Maybe strawberries are really out of season and strawberries are really expensive in March. And so if I'm spending a lot of money and a lot of ingredients and people aren't buying it, then maybe I'm going to make it a seasonal thing. And when it comes back in season, then the price drops a little bit on the ingredients, then I can bring it back, right? And maybe I think about maybe there's something more seasonable in March that maybe I can replace with that strawberry shortcake. Okay. And so our pictures, our graphs are, they make it more, especially when you are presenting a lot of data in a lot of different ways. There's not necessarily one particular chart that you have to use. But when we're looking at bar charts, okay, because they have bars, okay, so bar charts are really helpful to look at when you're comparing multiple units and similar criteria for each unit, right? So here we can see the revenue, expenses, and the profit or loss, okay? If it was a loss, this bar would actually go below zero, and we would see that that would be a loss, okay? Line graphs, they show detail over time when you're comparing lots of different items or different units. And maybe you're only looking at one particular factor. In this case, we're looking at sales. So the number of sales from each particular item on our menu. And then pie charts are really helpful when you're looking at any kind of percentages. Okay, anytime you want to identify percentages of any sort, that is really kind of the best way to show is using that pie chart. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about taking graphs, taking tables and charts and converting them into graphs. We're going to do this as a class in just a minute. But any questions, concerns off the top? No? Okay. So if you are Um, if you have a computer, go ahead and open it up and open your Excel. If you don't have Excel downloaded, if you go to your ASUS and your email, when you go to your email, at the top left corner is these 9 little dots. You can actually open up Excel this way. Okay. So you can open up Excel doing it that particular way. Questions, comments, concerns about doing that? If you do not have a computer, come get one up here, please. And anybody have a pen I can borrow? I just need to jot down your names and which laptop you pick up so I can make sure I get them all back. All right, so if you'll write your name, and you have number 1. Let me pause the recording while we do this. All right. So, admittedly, this is the first time I've taught this class, this topic in a face-to-face class. Usually, I just give the assignment and I have a step-by-step instructions. And so bear with me, please, as we're working on this together. I just basically, in this video, I want to just kind of show the basics of how we are going to set up the data. For your Excel homework, the data is already created for you, okay? And then I'm going to give you step-by-steps on how to create the different charts and how to modify and format them, okay? And then you are going to create your own scenario that is related to your specific degree. So if you're culinary and baking, you might have more of like a food related, sales related, or number of items related, okay? Some If you are hotel or hospitality, you may have something like occupancy percentage, ADR. You might have number of tickets sold if you're a theme park by month. And so there's lots of different things, lots of different types of data that you can consider when you're going to create your own scenario. Okay. So the first thing that when you are thinking about creating a set, okay, is that you want to think about what the titles of your headings are going to be. So what are we looking for? And so I'm going to go ahead, let's do item. Let me zoom in so you can see. Okay. So I'm going to do item and what type, let's go with that example we used before about the food cost percentage, right? Let me actually pull that date. No, I'll do it this way. Okay, so our food cost percentage, and then we have oh, we didn't have item, we had unit. Okay, so unit food cost percentage, and then we can do average food cost percentage. Okay. So let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4. So somebody give me, Jake, give me a number between 25 and 35. 28. Okay. Joseph, give me a number between 25 and 35. 19, 25 and 35. 27. Okay. Serenity. 25. Okay. Marissa, 32. Let's keep going. Tamara, give me a number between 25 and 35. Anything. Higher than, let's add 10 to that. Let's make it 24. Okay. That's good. 24. Good. Brianna, give me another number. 33. Okay. Lorena, any number between 25 and 35. 30. Okay. Cool. Daniel, 35. Cool. And Edward, let's do one more. 31. Okay. Oh, let's make it an even 10. Moses, 25 to 35. Okay, we can do 45. All right. So, how do I find the average? How do you find the average of anything? So we add them all up, right? We add all those percentages. Good. And then we do what? We divide by the number that we have. That's the average of anything, right? So we could, if we wanted to get our calculator out, we could average all of these. Okay. Or if we highlight them and you look down at the bottom, I know it's very small to see. My average is 31. It tells me my average is 31. The sum is total of 310. Okay. So let Excel do the work for you. Okay. You could also, let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see. Anytime I want to tell Excel I want to do something, what's the first thing I type into the field? What's that? The equal sign. Okay. So I type in equals, and that tells Excel I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Okay. Then I put in a parentheses and I type in the word. No, sorry, don't put the parentheses in, just average. Okay. So I want the average. Now I put that parentheses in and I highlight B4 to B13, close my parentheses, and hit enter. So it's going to find the average for me. Okay. And so now I'm going to put in my average food cost percentage is 31. Click and drag. So now I'm going to select the data that I want. So I click and highlight. And I'm going to come up here to insert. And then I could choose a recommended chart if I wanted to. Okay. I could also choose the type of charts that I want specifically. If I want a bar graph, okay, that doesn't really tell me the story that I want to tell. Line graph, that doesn't really tell me the story that I want to know. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I want to look for combo, because that combo is going to have my, hold on one second. Why is it doing that? Unit food cost percentage. I don't understand why unit is in there. All right, let's do some investigation. So maybe this is a newer version of Excel that's smarter than the previous one, but it looks like I only had to highlight the data that I want actually on the table itself. Um, and then the far left column, we'll do another test. The far left column represents each one of the locations in the units. Okay. So based on this data right here on the chart, which unit are we going to focus on for improvement? What are we analyzing? We're analyzing our food cost by unit, by store. So which ones are we going to focus on? Units, which ones? 4, 6, 8, and 10. Why? They're all above the average. Okay. They're all above that average food cost percentage. Does that make sense? Is it good to be over the food cost percentage? No, it is not. That means, remember, the higher our food cost percentages, the lower our profit's going to be. And so understanding what the data represents. Now, if this was sales, if we did sales by unit, which one would we want to focus on? Number 5, because it has the lowest sales, right? So understanding what the picture represents and means is going to help you better identify how to analyze that data. Okay. Um, and then with this, you can resize your chart, okay, however you need to. Anytime you want to go somewhere, you can just click, double click, and you can change the information, okay? Do we always have to do the average food cost percentage? Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm just saying if these numbers were sales, just looking at the picture, not looking at the data set. If we were just looking at a picture that this was sales, that's what I was saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to cause any confusion. Yeah, so you click, hold down your mouse, and then you highlight the field of data that you want. Okay. And then when you go up to insert, the insert tab at the top, we're going to choose this combo, and then you can choose which one you want. All right. You want to do another example? Yes, no, maybe so. Yes, another example. Okay. So what kind of data are we going to be analyzing? Are we doing number of items sold? Are we doing sales by particular unit? What are we doing? Average check. Okay. So how are we going to do? Let's do so Monday through Sunday. So if you notice what I just did there, okay, I typed in the word Monday, and then when I get to the bottom right corner, there's that little dark green square. You see how my cursor changes? I click and drag, and now Excel recognizes the trend in what I want to do, and actually will then type it, fill in all those squares for me. I don't have to type in those days of the week. Okay. So let's do lunch, dinner. Okay. Now this is where you kind of just get a little creative, right? If you're just entering the data. Now, if you are in the real business world, you would actually go and get this data from your sales receipts. Okay. But when we're creating something like this, we're just creating it out of our heads. So what is our average lunch check? Okay, so we're looking at the average check per guest. So basically, how much does each guest spend on average for Monday at lunch? $15. Okay, what about Tuesday? 18. What about Wednesday? 30. Okay, what about Thursday? There's a special on Thursdays. Fridays? 20. Saturdays? 28. And Sunday? 10. Okay. What about dinners? For dinner? Dinner's usually more than lunch. Should be. Okay, so hold that thought. Hold that thought, Edward. So I want to use this for the next one. Okay. Um, all right. So dinner, 50. Tuesday, 42. Wednesday, 38. Thursday, 50. Friday, 60. Okay. Saturday, Lorena says 100. Okay. And then Sunday, 35. Okay. So if we're looking at the average check per guest, what we might do, let's do a little test on this one. If we want to look at the trends from the as the week goes on, what type of graph should we go for? A line graph. Okay. So I don't know why I didn't do that on this one. That's crazy. Okay. So this is our chart title is average check per guest by day of week. Okay. So in looking at this data, how do we interpret this data? What information can we learn by looking at this data? Saturday, a lot of people spend money. The average person spends more money. So maybe we're selling more appetizers and desserts versus just entrees, right? So maybe on Thursday for lunch, people are coming in and they're just ordering that special. And that's it, right? They're not here to add an appetizer, to add a beverage, to add a dessert. They just come in, they're going to get that special, and they're going to bounce, right? So what opportunities does that leave for us as management in order to increase our overall sales? Okay, so maybe we can add something to that special and say, okay, what if your special comes with an iced tea, right? Add on. And so now instead of it being $15, now or $12, now maybe it's going to be $15, right? That extra $3 Does that cost us $3 to make that tea? Mm, no, it costs. If that's what we would sell it, maybe we would sell it for $3, but it doesn't cost me $3, right? So it's maybe going to cost me what, 25 cents, right? So I can increase my profit by just by saying, okay, this is $15. Can you all imagine that just 6 years ago in 2019? Do you know how much lunch was here at the building? Not at our building. It was in the old building. Do you know how much lunch was for a 4 course meal? It's $12. Now we sell the 4 course meal for $20 and we sell the 3 course meal for $15. It's basically the same food, right? The menus are basically the same. Okay. And so, can you imagine at one point, lunch was $9 and dinner was $12, and people complained that we increased the price to $12. Are you kidding me? You're complaining? You're getting a 4 course meal and you're complaining that it cost you a whole $12? You can't go to fast food and get a meal for $12, right? And you get all this amazing food. So, yes, it was a great value, right? And so then we raised it to 20 and 15. And there were some people that complained about it being too expensive, right? Well, okay, that's just the price it is. The food that we have to, the ingredients we have to buy. Okay. On Friday nights last semester, um, we had the shirt and tie class. And on Friday night, they sold their menus for $25. And they were full almost every Friday night. Why? Because the people who came to eat on Friday night recognized that for a dinner for 2 people that costs $50, and they're getting a soup, a salad, an entree that usually is like lamb or fish or steak, and a dessert only costs $25. There's nowhere in San Antonio you could go for that type of a meal for $25, right? And so sometimes, okay, we get this, we see this picture, okay, our Thursday, wow, $12 is our average spend for our checks. So what can we do to increase that? Okay. We also might look and see, why is Saturday so high? Everyone gets paid, so people are maybe a little bit more free with their money. Let's go out to eat, and we're going to go ahead and get an appetizer and drinks and dessert, right? Or maybe it's just the fact that on Saturday you've got Moses working every Saturday and he knows how to schmooze people and sell that appetizer, right? And then you have me, David, on Wednesday night, and I'm not confident in selling appetizers. And so then we say, hey, Moses, I noticed that you sell so many appetizers on Saturday. Can you come and work with David on Wednesdays and kind of teach him and show him, coach him how you sell appetizers? And then we analyze the data again. After the next period, we look and see, okay, did what we implement, did that change the results of anything? Okay. Um, so Edward, I want to go back to one other thing that you were just talking about. I don't know if you meant it in this way or not. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna highlight copy, and then I'm gonna come down here and control V for Victor is paste. Okay. So now this case, I'm going to do the number of covers, the number of guests per shift. Okay. So then how many reservations we have per shift. So I'm just going to come up with some numbers. And then dinners. Hmm. Okay, so I highlight the information, insert. Okay, so this may not necessarily be the best format, the line graph, the line chart like this. So what I can actually do is come up here and I can change my chart type. I want to change it for columns. I think columns would be a little bit better. Okay. Number of guests. Okay. So now looking at this, so let's look one more time. Let me show you again. Chart, if I go from a line graph, you see how my lines cross like that? It's kind of difficult to kind of follow where the lines go, right? And so by changing it to a bar graph or a column graph, now I can more easily see which day of the week might I need to advertise for lunch. What days of the week might I want to maybe add some more marketing or promotions for lunch? Sunday and are we sure about Thursday? Oh yeah, lunch is blue. Sorry, I was looking at orange. Oh my gosh, sorry. Yes, I was looking at orange. So yes, Sunday and Thursday, right? So Thursday's a midweek. Why is our lunch slow on Thursdays? Okay, maybe we moved our special from 12 to 15 and now all of a sudden people aren't coming because they think $15 is too much, right? And so again, we can figure out that data and follow those trends in that way. Okay, maybe Sunday, hey, is there I don't know, within a 5-10 mile radius, what churches are in our area and what time do they get out of service? And so is my lunch getting over at 1, or sorry, is my breakfast getting over at 1 or noon and the church service gets out at 12? And so people really sometimes they want to go for eat breakfast after like a brunch. So maybe I need to have a brunch menu on Sundays that can entice people to come in and have brunch and have breakfast and lunch items, right? To kind of get me through that lunch and dinner period. Okay. Um, and then what about dinners? Wednesday and Sundays. Okay. So, what other business type decisions might I make based on this data? What's that? They're both church days. Okay. There we go. Maybe that's the problem. We have to go back and figure out what can we do to attract that group of customers, right? What other type of business decisions, operation decisions might you make based on this data, based on this information? Yeah, so maybe on Sundays we don't need to have as many people as servers because we don't have that many guests on Sundays. So what days do I want to save my labor budget to make sure I have enough staff for dinner? Fridays and Saturdays. Maybe on Mondays during the week. Okay. What about during the week for lunches? Tuesday and Wednesday. So if people are coming in and we don't have enough staff, that's going to probably lengthen the time that people spend because they either have to wait or it takes us a while to get their food out. And then if they're taking too long and they have a lunch break that's only 30 minutes, right? And if we don't have enough staff on hand to make sure people can get in and out in that 30 to 40-minute time frame, then maybe we'll lose some customers. Okay. And so taking this data and interpreting it, we can kind of look at different angles, different things that we want to look at. Okay. Um, one of the directions in the One of the directions in the homework assignment is going to switch the columns and the columns and the rows. And so in our last 15 minutes, let's do another example that shows that. Okay, so I'm going to open up my data sets here. And I'm going to copy and paste them over here so we can look at them this way. All right. So this is my data set from the number of items that we sold. Okay. If I come in here and I put in a bar chart or column, okay, what you'll notice with this is that the different colored bars are the months, right? January, February, March. And then the items are along here, okay? So sometimes this doesn't quite make sense to analyze it and to picture it this way. And so what you do is there's this little button up here at the top that says switch the rows and columns. And so when you click that, you see how it makes the change? So now the months are the main items on the chart, and the items are the different colored bars. Okay. And so in this regard, we could still see that our chocolate cake is increasing. But remember, we talked about how the line graph is more effective to show the change from month to month. Let's see what that looks like. Is that easy to interpret? No. So if we switch it, we can see how those individual items are increasing, okay, or decreasing. The pie charts. Let me show you the pie chart really quickly, okay? I'm going to highlight the items that I want. And then if I want a pie chart, let me show you this real quick. If I highlighted all this information and I put in a pie chart, okay, it's only going to give me that January. I'm not going to see February and March, right? Because Excel is like, hey, this is not the right chart for this type of data. And so if I want February, do I delete January? No. We want all the data, right? We want all that information. I'm going to highlight the first column and then hold down the control button, the CTRL button on your computer, and then I'm only going to highlight March and let go of control. So control is going to allow me to select just specific items that I want. And now I can input that pie chart for March. Okay. Another really cool thing that Excel does is that you noticed they have different formats right up here, the different styles. So this one has the percentages inside. This one has the percentages in that black square. Which one's easier to see if you're in a presentation? This one or this one? This one, right? Because the numbers, the percentages are on a contrasting background, right? And so you can also select all of them and change the font size and edit them that way. Is that very effective? No, why? It's too big, it's too big, it's jumbled, they kind of cover each other. So maybe I'm gonna do 20. And that's a little bit easier to see. Okay. So if you, like I said, if you will give me until tomorrow, okay, to access your chapter 4, to update your chapter 4 Excel assignment, I do not have a class until, what's today, Tuesday? Until 2 o'clock. So after this class is over, I will I'll make that my first priority to get that an Excel document updated. And then you can start working on it. It will be due on Tuesday, the 30th. Okay. It'll be due on Tuesday, the 30th. Correct. This Tuesday, Thursday, the 23rd, 25th, I am not here. And then we will have class on Tuesday, the 30th. We will not have class on October the 2nd. Okay. Well, I'm about 50% sure. I will let you know. I'll confirm that. I have the potential of going to a conference downtown San Antonio to take some students. And so that process is still in the approval process. It hasn't been finalized. But once it's finalized, then I will know for sure. So there is a potential that October 2nd we will not have class, but I will keep you posted on that. Okay? Yes.
Is it correct that you also have the managers versus leaders assignment due on the 30th? Or is that...
Yes, because we talked about that last class. Yeah. So technically it should be due. It should have been done today. Okay. I'll double check the date, but it should be the managers versus leaders should also either be next week, the 23rd or the 30th. I'll make Excel the 30th just because that will give you a little bit more time to work on it. If you are not familiar with Excel, please don't wait to the last minute. Please, and what I'm doing, let me show you real quick. I'll show you for the Excel assignment. Where is that? Where is my chapter 4? Let me look in the modules. Okay, so here in the chapter 4 Excel assignment, okay, the document is your step-by-step, and the Excel data, this is your data set. So this is your Excel document you're going to be working off of, your Excel spreadsheets, and this is your Word document, okay? So on the Word document, it's basically going to give you direction step by step, okay? I would like you to delete all the instructions. So when you submit your final assignment, it is literally just the chart and the questions to the answer. The chart and the questions to the answers. The answers to the questions. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Okay. So we have a pie chart, a line chart, and a bar graph. So you'll notice that what I'm going to do is I'm going to put screenshots of what I see in Excel, and then I point arrows, directions to what you need to do. Okay. And then I give you all of the options and things like that. Okay. Show you what to do. And then you're going to answer these two questions about the pie chart. Okay. You're going to answer the question about the data. Then do the same thing for the bar graph. And so when you turn this assignment in, you're going to highlight all of these pictures. Okay. And you're going to delete them and just put in your graph from Excel. Okay. In this Word document, correct. Okay. It's really easy. You come here to the graph, you highlight the graph, copy it, and then go over into Word and paste it. Okay. And then you'll have the questions, and you'll answer the questions, and then you'll do the next graph. So your final document is literally just going to be 3 graphs with questions that are answered right below it. Okay. Your fourth graph that you are going to create on your own, which is your own data set. You can use some of the examples we used in class. You can use some of the examples from that for as inspiration, okay? Or you can come up with your own scenario, okay? Don't copy them, but use them for inspiration. So like come up with your own numbers, come up with your own questions, that kind of thing, right? You are actually going to post that in a discussion post, okay? You're going to post that in a discussion post for your classmates to review your graph and answer the questions that you ask, okay? So your homework for me is just the practice of creating the graphs, okay? And then your other homework, so you can apply the knowledge, is to create your own graph and upload it to a discussion post in Canvas, okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Brianna. That's going to be due on the 30th as well. That way you have time in the next week and a half to do that. Yep, yes. It's just blank? Okay, I'll change that. Thank you for letting me know. All right, any questions about the Excel assignment? Yes. Okay, that's fine. If you need help, just let me know. Okay. Um, and then this is the rubric that I'm going to be following for your assignment. Okay. For there's rubrics for there's information for each graph. You'll notice that all directions deleted is worth 5 points. Okay. So I want you to have a clean document when you submit it. I don't want to see all those pictures and all the step-by-step directions. Just delete all of that. Okay. Or if you want to create a brand new Word document and just copy your questions over and your chart, that's fine too. I don't care how it gets accomplished as long as it's a clean document. Okay. That is all I have for today. So if you borrowed a computer, come bring it back and give it to me so I can plug it in.